Well, that was different. We had a little bit of a, yeah, don't understand what went wrong there. Is it just me or is the feed is gone? No, the feed was definitely gone. I just want to go through some of these questions quickly before hopefully everyone, just someone write something in the chat very, very quickly. Worst case scenario, I've got the old chat in front of me, which you can see. The new chat is coming up and I'll just then refresh it. Because I want to try and get through the questions and stuff on here first. Yeah, okay, so open mind, hello, my open mind, hello, Mr. Mum, I can see now, especially a tightless herd. Yes, so basically, sorry, my PC just had a spontaneous, as you can see, you've got my desktop behind me, my PC had a spontaneous reboot. Axel, if you're about, we can have a little chat about Windows Event Viewer and trying to work out why my PC decided it wanted to reboot itself. There you go. So what I'll do is I'll go through the information that you can see on there, the old comments I've still got on here. And so I want to make sure I get through these ones first. And then we can then talk about the new stuff, which will inevitably come through because I can see the new stuff on this side, which you can't see yet, but I want to get and capture this stuff before my PC decides it wants to do it again. There you go. Right, so we talked about the Vice Pro, and basically to finish that is the fact that they're blooming great company. They're very, very good, but their prices started well, creeping up. And then when you start talking about the fact that obviously they charge for postage and stuff like this, when you start to really look down at breaking it down, it got to a point of where actually they weren't as bargain centric as they were at the start, and it starts becoming more and more expensive, and then it becomes much more difficult for me to then support a brand in that sense, from my point of view, that I supported them straight away on the word go, because it was like, well, you're making a brilliant product, durability aside sometimes, on the basis that it's like half the cost. And why wouldn't you? I mean, most people will either lose the golf ball or put it in your practice bag way before durability becomes an issue. So yeah, and then it got a little bit frustrating with the fact that the price point kept going north. Ben says, I need to upgrade my Ping G15 driver. Yes, you do. And 3 wood. So we'll look to try Mizuno offerings when I get the chance. Yeah, again, when it comes to, they're, again, blooming good options. It's just sometimes, depending what the accounts have ability to fit for when it comes to shaft options and stuff like that, sometimes it can be a bit tricky. Another one of the comments that were in the video saying that the fact that sometimes obviously accounts have got access to all the DNA heads, etc. for the irons, but they're not necessarily for exactly the same thing when it comes to the woods. So again, very much, well, a bit more difficult to get something fit correctly. Yeah. Tony says, sadly I couldn't, as my STZ is in my holiday bag in Spain, have a Ventus TR in my TSR3. If I could have tried that in the 230, it might have made me pick the 230, because the 230 head is just as good as the TSR 2. It's an interesting one. See, the 230Z is, or Z, is a kind of in between TSR2, TSR3. The STX230 is in between a TSR1 and a TSR2. So it's an interesting one, but yeah. Tony says, PS, love the content. Thanks very much. So yeah, I always like questions when it comes to, I want someone, whoever's, I mean, again, I haven't had all the information up on here yet, because obviously I cut off halfway through, but I want people to ask me the most ridiculously complex physics-based technical questions. Don't care. I haven't as yet found a question that someone's asked that I have really struggled or couldn't answer, and I do enjoy a challenge. So Perry says, Evening Jay, golf rest period thanks to cursed torn obliques. Ow. They're the, yeah. How on earth did you manage to do that? Cody says, I'm trying to find the best budget 3-piece I can, and the Kirklands I play only last a hole or 2 before gouging. Wow, now that is a softie. If they're going like that, that's no good whatsoever. And so, yeah, you do need to find something which, why are they gouging? Is it a case of just like the wedges starting to cut the faces up? I'm assuming that's what you mean. If that's the case, then yeah, durability. If they're gouging, I mean, when it comes to the old classic, what you used to have on Dunlop 95s, or Dunlop, sorry, 65s, back in the day when they used to be Bellata and stuff like that, you could put a smiler on it quite easily, or even before then. But yeah, so what I'm going to do now, as I've captured all that information, if you would bear with me, it is that one there. And what I need to do is I need to go flick it up to that one. Nope, still the same one. So this is what we're going to do. Here we go. Top chat, all chat, pop out chat. There it goes. I need to then make it bigger. This is what I normally do before the stream goes, because I'm obviously having to do this live, which is not the most professional thing in the world. But if I flick over to that there, then that's gone in there. You can now see it. But now the screen, the chat box has got too big, so I need to then do this, and everyone's a winner. There we go. Right, we're back. So my open mind says ST230Z feels so much more stable than the previous STZ. So if you're talking about STZ, as in the not the STZ220, the as in one of the, because they did. Oh no. I lose track now of how many they did, because Mizuno, they're going crazy at one point, releasing every year, but they were learning so quick that they had to stay relevant, to stay current, and also not get to a point of where, as they're learning so fast to try and get a better product out there, they're trying to keep the product relevant and try and keep the pushing going. And so, yeah, that's why they did. But I lost track of how many Zs and Xs, and that was the new Z and the new X, because that was the old one. Then we got 220s. Yeah, kind of got the idea. But now they say a 2-year life cycle, because the STZ, ST230 Z and the X is just that good. Right, so am I right seeing less dispersion? So the interesting thing is the STZ was built on the back of the STZ220. So 230Z and X were built on the back of the 220, and the 220s were stable. The most stable heads that Mizuno have ever made, and then obviously then put that into, so technically the ST230 should be more stable than the original ST. But again, we are talking about human beings. Change shaft will change the feel, or will change the feel, so that you might well then change the performance based on the human involved. Vishal, hello, hope you're well. Vishal says, hello Jay and everybody. Lee Zen says, is it okay if my shot shape starts straight, then draws a bit left? Or should I keep working on getting face a bit more open while keeping it into out path? Okay, so if your ball starts straight and then draws off, that means effectively your path is into out and your face is straight within reason to target. Close the path, straight to target, which means, because face determines, changes with loft, give or take, but let's just say generally 80% of the initial start direction is down to your face. Not your face, as in the club face. So when it comes to, the initial start direction, face square to target, and then of course, and it draws that way. But you could either do one of two things. You can either keep your face control as it is and just move your path a little bit more out to in, so effectively from in to out to straight, and just hit straight shots, or you can continue working that shot. If it's predictable and it's manageable and it's consistent, just change your aim. If you're hitting good shots, just change your aim. And so you start the ball straight at right target as such, and then draw it into target, depending on obviously how the green is, where the trouble is, and where the pin is. You can make golf work very well that way. Okay, my open mind, I had the ST220Z. Yeah, so the STZ, arguably, yes, was fractionally more stable than the ST230, because the ST220 was a heavier head. Now I need to confirm that. I have got the heads around here and I have got a set of scales and I need to do it, but one thing was apparent in the old ST220, now Z, was just how heavy the heads were, because they were comparable to a ping. which was a bit of a shock at the time, because generally speaking, manufacturers make light heads. Why do they make light heads? Because lighter mass, you can move it faster. The heavier you make a head, yes, the more corresponding ball speed you get from it. But it is a fact that the heavier you make a head, the slower you swing it. Well, okay, we are talking about humans, and there are kind of exceptions to the rule always, but you know what I mean. So manufacturers trying to make as stable a head as possible whilst keeping the head weight as low as possible because of the faster swing. Get the faster swing, you can move the mass faster, which means more ball speed that way. Mr. Mumble says, at open mind, yes, I have the ST220 STG and now the STZ230. Oh, but you love buying stuff. You probably got more stuff than I have. The STZ is super stable and forgiving, just want to go straight. Yeah, I mean, it is fairly well, but at the end of the day, the golfer will still dictate what goes on, and if you're applying a face control, which is not, well, ideal, then it doesn't matter what golf club you're going to have. Remember, a golf manufacturer can only make something stable. What I mean by something stable, I mean to strike location effectively. Your job as a golfer is to apply the face angle in such a way relative to your path that the ball has best chance to go to your intended target. If you misstrike it, then leave it up to the manufacturer, because that's stability. If you're going to leave your face 10 open to a path 5 from the inside, that ball is starting right, going right. Regardless of where you hit it, you'd have to hit it massively heely to get enough face twist to get that thing going back. You won't. Cody said, did you ever hit the STZ220 and the STG220 with both weights back? Does that essentially make it the same driver? No. So the STZ220 with the weight at the back was obviously there anyway, and the STG, yes, you could move it quite a way, and with how they've moved the channels last year, or whenever it came out, yeah, they made it so you could move it quite a bit more. Because you had the weights, rather than entering from the back and sliding forward, you had the weights entering from the middle, being able to slide backwards and forwards. So you then had the option of being, yeah, you got the idea. Very good idea when it comes to try and maximise MOI. Did it make it much more stable? Yes, it did, because the STG 220 weights up front was a low spin, absolute monster, but fairly unforgiving. Whack those weights on the back, instantly you have a completely transformed driver, but it's still not as stable as the STZ220, which was a daddy of stability, but then obviously the spin rate will be slightly higher because of it. Vishal says, loving my new irons, Mura IC 601s with Fujikura Axiom shafts. Yeah, try and say that when you've had a few. A bit more offset than I would normally like, but they feel great. Good. As long as you're happy with them, doesn't matter what golf clubs you buy, doesn't matter, as long as they fit, doesn't matter. As long as you enjoy them, doesn't matter. That's the whole idea of golf, is for you to enjoy it. All these different things that we put on YouTube when it comes to content is down there, obviously, for people to watch and get better and stuff like that. But effectively, it's a game. And as long as you enjoy it, doesn't matter what handicap you are. I mean, obviously, everyone, well, say everyone, most people would like to get better. There's some people that they just enjoy to walk, and they're out with their friends and they have a good time, and they don't really care, I mean, how well they hit the golf ball. Sometimes they do good, sometimes they don't. It reminds me of a advert, or not an advert, it's a video online. I can't say it because obviously it's swearing. And the guy, there's a football manager, he goes, sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe. You kind of get the idea. Not good enough to hit blades with a ton of confidence, but more practice, years of play. Well, actually, the interesting thing when I've done tests, and I have done multiple tests over the years, with amateur golfers, just random amateur golfers that you put in their hands a blade, like a proper full-on, tiny, thin top lined, incy-wincy blade. Actually, if you map their spray pattern as such when it comes to their strike consistency, more to the point, because on FSX Pro, which is hang on, that one there, if you really want to know, FSX Pro, you can map the strike consistency, and it does it in millimeters squared and stuff. So basically, if you put a smaller club in people's hands, regardless of what handicap they are, their actual strike improves. Why? Because their brain most probably goes, well, that's tiny, gotta concentrate, gotta concentrate, gotta concentrate. Where you put these big things in people's hands, they basically feel that they could probably close their eyes and swing at it and make contact. So yeah. Sean, hello Sean, hope you're well. Evening Jay, I no longer carry a 3-wood and de-loft a 5-wood to 17 to make it a 4-wood effectively, yes. Then gap with a 7-wood, a game changer, absolutely. And more people need to do exactly what you've done, well done. You get the gold star for this evening so far, because that is what most people should do. Unless they have got a boatload of speed. Even I carry a 3-wood, yes I do, but I loft it up. So there you go. Vishal says, Jay, can you give an explanation of why more offset helps with forgiveness? Oh, sorry, John, Sean, I would just sort of say the only reason I don't de-loft a 5, one, because the 5-wood head is smaller, so the MOI potentially is lower because the head is not so big and the weight is not so far back. But if I was to add loft to my 3-wood, then obviously within a Mizuno anyway, it counters the loft a little bit to a point where it looks a little bit more draw biased. And because I can, especially hitting off the deck, I can cut my 3-wood, get in a 3-wood with a larger head, so lower, further back CG, a little bit more forgiving head, but then have that loft then tilted in a way which helps my, not draw, because I haven't got one necessarily, but my little baby fade to come into a straighter shot, if not to a slight baby draw. That's why I do the 3-wood rather than going to a 5-wood, but doesn't matter, you've done it exactly the right thing. Right, Visual, sorry. Jay, can you give an explanation of why more offset helps with forgiveness? It doesn't. At least that is what I thought. It doesn't. There you go. People put offset in there on this hilarious understanding that it helps face closure. And okay, right, so this is the interesting bit. When I say interesting bit, it's not really that interesting, but it's interesting from a point of view of physics and how launch monitors collect certain information and stuff like that. So if you imagine, so where all the information that I give when it comes to head data, yeah, when it comes to Foresight, quad, that'll all go down there, is effectively her measuring at the point of touch. Now you've got a closure rate, and even quad measures closure rate, and that closure rate is just a measure of how fast that face is releasing. Yep, so how fast the face is going from what you see is there to there, that kind of idea. People that flip it fast have a very fast release, will have a higher number, and people who are a bit more let the face drag through impact. My closure rate is generally speaking fairly low. That's why I'm boring, generally speaking. People that have a faster closure rate can have a faster club head speed, but they also then do potentially have problems timing it. But when you're talking about a closure rate of say 2000 RPM, if you imagine 360 degrees in a circle and 2000 is around about what, 6, give or take, ish, yeah? Let's get a phone out. Let's do it properly, shall we? Right, so if we go get 360 times 6, yeah, it's 2160. So if you've got 2,160 degrees per second rotation, that means your club head is spinning round effectively 6 times a second as it's hitting the golf ball. So if you're swinging that golf club at 100 miles an hour and it's spinning round at effectively 6 times a second, no wonder golf is blooming difficult. But because of that, there is a certain amount of face closure during impact, subject to strike point with the twisting and the forces that the center of gravity or the ball applies, depending on where that's in line with the center of gravity of the head. And then also ground conditions, at what point you hit the ground and then what forces apply onto the head because of that. So if you imagine what the numbers that you see from this, as in when I'm hitting stuff, that is based on the point of touch. Now there will be a certain tiny amount of face closure within the point of where the golf ball impact takes 0.0005 of a second or something stupid like that. But even in that time where the ball is deforming on the face and then springing back off, there is a certain amount of face closure depending on where the strike point is. And so, yeah, what they're trying to do with offset is maximize that by having the shaft away from the face away from the shaft, allowing the face to close a bit more. And there is also some evidence as well by moving the face away from the shaft, it aids closure, although I need to speak to a physicist to understand that. Right, There you go. Perry says, oblique's done, speed training, and I'm old and don't bounce anymore. Yeah, I know the feeling, yeah. At the moment, where I live, I'm changing windows in my house because I've got I've got a renovation project within my home, and I'm slowly going around doing everything. And I spent a lot of time back 2 years ago now when we first bought the house, and like stripping it and gutting it completely, taking everything like walls down, central heating pipes out, electrics out, and yeah, anyway, kitchens, bathrooms were out, ripped. It was just a concrete shell, so I'm getting through anyway. But yeah, doing some windows because I really need doing. And yeah, today I smacked myself on the arm. I don't know if you can see that. There you go, can you see that? There you go, look, it's already starting possibly bruising. I'm pulling something and it gave, and I went boom and whacked what was behind me. Serves me right. I don't know why they call it a funny bone, because it wasn't funny. Well, I did laugh, to be fair. I laugh a lot if I hurt myself. Then there's no point getting upset about something you did yourself. All right, so Vishal says, the point you were just making, what's interesting is that my Epon AD505s have a very, very thin top line and actually hit those irons really well. Medium sole, like the ZX5s Mark IIs, which hopefully I should have soon to test and compare against others and stuff like that, which will be fun. Yeah, when generally, again, I've done this test, I said loads and loads of times, multiple times, like tens and tens and tens, if not hundreds of times with people, and it is eerily true that once they get used to the golf club, and that normally takes 3 shots maximum, yeah, their strike spray consistency is better with a smaller golf club because their brain is going, oh, it's 90. I better concentrate. Sean says, interesting, I use the G430 to go flatter and then use the minus also, yeah, on the other side, because obviously with a G from 425, I think it was onwards, obviously they had the flatten settings. It was visible on the way back. You could turn it and have a little look. It says flat, this, that, and everything else. So it made the golfer, not the fitter, because the fitter should know anyway, hopefully. Although I've got a few stories of fitters not even understanding what happens when you put a left-handed head on a shaft and then you put the pluses and minus. That's happened quite a few times, and that's hilarious when people are responsible for fitting people and they've got no, oh, that's a different story. Ian, hello Ian, hope you're well. Jay, good evening, appreciate you use quad. However, my local pro has TrackMan 4. And when using the monitor indoors, the carry numbers always seem short and I say on course. Any ideas? Yes, because you shouldn't really use a TrackMan 4 indoors. Not unless you use certain type of balls, not unless you use, and even then it can be interesting because what you'll find, and if you go on TrackMan 4, anything in italics is a guesstimate, we'll call it, not a measured read. And anything really when it comes to a TrackMan 4 indoors, it's fine, you can use it indoors, but there's certain things. There's many YouTubers that have done the test between TrackMan 4 and quad effectively, or just tested TrackMan 4 and obviously they use quad or they've used TrackMan. They're just trying to be open and honest about the good bits and bad bits, because TrackMan 4 is blooming good outside. Outside it rocks. Why? Because quad is very good. It's an amazing piece of kit. It really is. Indoors, you will not find anything that beats that. Anything. Literally, nothing will beat a quad indoors. That's end of. For measurements and everything else, that is the top dog. Okay, outdoors though. Outdoors, that thing is really good. However, that thing there is based on the aerodynamic profile of a Pro V1 when it comes to you hitting shots. Now, this is why I have a little bit of an issue doing ball fittings with a quad. I don't believe you can do ball fittings with a quad. Why? Because yes, you'll see the differences in launch angles, spin rates, etc. that you'll have in construction, design differences between 2 different balls, but what you won't find and won't see when using the quad when it comes to its flight on the screen is the aerodynamic profile of the ball pattern, the ball dimple pattern, and how that dimple pattern, which is different for different number of dimples and the construction and shape and all this lot of dimples, they will have an effect on the lift and drag of the golf ball. So that thing cannot see it because it's built on a Pro V1 model, and so therefore I don't believe to be absolutely accurate. Okay, in the grand scheme of things, really, how different is it? Not a lot. And by far, the golfer is still massively more important than the difference what I'm just talking about. However, I'm being honest, as I am honest all the time. I don't mind. That's why I put head data. I still have the odd comment. I had one last week saying your stuff is really good, although I think it would be much more believable if you weren't clad in the very products or something you're reviewing. Okay, that's your opinion, and I'm not saying you're wrong. What I'm saying, well, I am from my point of view, but what I'm saying is that the reason why I give head data, regardless of what manufacturer product I test, I give head data. So I cannot shy away from what I have done. If I say that, oh yeah, I've just done a review between JPX 923 Hot Metal and the Ping G430, and the G430 is 12 yards shorter, goes 10 yards less in the air, and goes in like a rocket. It's no good by the 923 Hot Metal. Well, come on. I could say anything. That's why I do head data, because if that is the case, there's a reason for it. And if you give honest head data, you give it out there for everybody to see, it's open and transparent. If one wins, it wins on its benefits, or I have cheated because I've not delivered the same. If I've swung faster, well, there you go. If I've delivered less loft, well, there you go. If I've hit it so much better or worse, there you go. That's why I do it. So, yeah. So when it comes to TrackMan, I worry about the numbers that it gives indoors sometimes. That's why back in the day when we were deciding which way to go, Foresight or TrackMan, we had TrackMan, and we asked, me, because I'm like a little Jack Russell. I'm going to go in at you. I will keep going at you. If I don't think, I want to know the ins and outs of duck's backside when it comes to everything. And the rep as such, the person, the sales representative or the area sales manager, whatever you want to call them, got not defensive, but he couldn't answer my question. And got to a point of where saying that I'll have to put you in contact with the person who designs TrackMan. Like, what? Okay. Where Foresight, we had them out within a few days afterwards and to discuss what we needed and what we're going to do going forward. And they answered every single question, absolutely open to everything, the pros and the cons of any kind of piece of technology. And they were absolutely happy to answer anything. That straight away for me got a little bit, okay. So, yeah. But, right. Ian, hope that's given some understanding. The problem with TrackMan 4 is the spin rates, generally speaking, and the tilt axis also. Spin rates generally can be calculated, can be guessed as such. That's why definitely when it goes in italics, it is not a measured number. And also the tilt axis is not necessarily great. So it can sometimes fade when it was a draw. It can sometimes see in a draw when it's actually a fade, where no, when it comes, I need to know. That's what it does. It measures. That thing does not. That's amazing. Every so often it gives out some weird and wacko stuff, and you know full well that that's like, no, that's the what? Well, when I say every so often, it's 1 in 1,000 shots. Yeah. Not even robots are perfect. So Mr. Mumble says, have a friend got fit. Have a friend. We all have friends. Hopefully. Got fit with 1/2 inch shorter iron, same height. Wrist to floor. Anything to look for in my bad shots to note that would show I need shorter irons. Okay, wrist to floor. Hang on a second. Bear with here. So let's just see if we can do this. Flick over. Got to look at the time. Got to keep an eye on the time. Yeah, can't really see. Well, there's no really point on that. I'll tell you what, I'll move my chair out of the way. I'll now put the chair in the way. That's not very thoughtful, is it? It doesn't matter. It's still in the way. That's what happens. Right, it's wrist to floor. So, in a old school fitting, we're talking static fit. Ping are still the kings of static fitting. And they use it as a baseline idea. Got no problem with that whatsoever, because it's actually a pretty good starting point. But that's what it should be. It should be a starting point. Never, ever go on just because, okay, let's just imagine me, I've got whatever I've got, yeah, and say I'm Mr. Boring, I'm Mr. Everything average, right? Now I'm 5'10", and I've got spans of exactly what my height is and yada yada yada. So within reason, I'm smack on the boring black standard kind of, yeah, black lie standard length. However, do I use standard length? Yes. Am I standard lie? Well, if you look at my posture, and we've had conversations about my posture because people like to have their say, even though it makes no difference, but there you go. If you look at my posture, right? I think everyone would believe and say from both, so from that camera there that you can see with my chair that's kind of in the way, but this one in front of me can't see anything, but that one there, the down the line, I think people would agree that I'm more bent over. I'm exaggerated. Okay, I'm not Keegan Bradley. Keegan Bradley's the old classic like this, isn't he? But I'm more bent over. So instantly, you'd perceive then, oh, that means his toe's going to be up in the air. But then if you look at how I deliver, because I use my hips possibly improperly when it comes to the purists out there of early extension, where early extension is not, I repeat, early extension is not a fault. It is a swing characteristic unless you are compensating for it because it's a poor delivery. So what I'm saying is, if you're getting to a point of where you're standing sort of relatively what people would see as fairly normal to it, sort of, yeah, like this, not sort of, yeah, not too far away, and then you do a huge amount of early extension, that means your arms or your hands can't get anywhere near where they were before because your leg is now involved. So you have to kind of then do loads of all high hand. That's a compensated move, so that is a swing fault. I have this move where I've given myself loads of room for my hips can go round here and not do anything, and still, if I want to, early extend, but then I can just raise my hands fractionally, have 2 degrees upright, and there you go. But that's me. So we're talking about someone who's boring average when it comes to height, this, everything else, but because of 1, posture, and then 2, dynamic swing, which everyone has their own dynamic swing differences, causes a difference in how you would see the set makeup of how your golf club should be constructed, which I see as an interesting point. Let's go. Transition back. Right, let's go back to Ah, yes, you spotted the bear. He's doing well. He's making his way around the studio. Although, do you know what? I haven't had anyone comment in the videos yet. What are you gonna? No. So what I'm gonna do? I'm finding random places to put him. My little girl calls him Zuno because she can't say Mizuno, so she just calls him Zuno. But yeah, spotted the bear. Well done, Ben. You won the 2nd star for tonight. I do need custom emojis. If I'm going to do members, I'm not quite yet. I need custom emojis for a bit of fun. Mark says, hi Jay. Hi Mark. Hope you're well. Do you have an opinion on the Mevo Plus launch monitor? Obviously not the same as Quad or TrackMan, but interesting. What do you think? Well, basically, it's a good piece of kit, but it's still, if you imagine the problems with the likes of TrackMan, indoors especially, it's got those issues and some as well, as in the case because it's not going to be as accurate. It is good. For the price that it is, for what it shows, what it delivers, it's good. But when I say it's good, is it accurate? No, nowhere near as accurate one of these kids, and even so TrackMan outside, definitely not. But sometimes something is better than nothing, and even if something is wrong, as long as it's consistently wrong, you can then see a change in something if you're working on something. Now obviously, itchy snozzer. Depending on what kind of piece of technology you've got, even say GC3 from Foresight, which is a much cheaper product than that, only give you 1 dot data, so only give you angle of attack, club path, and head speed. It won't give you all the other numbers, which I would argue are important to work on to try and get your swing, say if you've got excessive curvature and stuff like that. Obviously you can work things out, but it does involve a certain amount of backwards engineering and backwards working when you haven't got full dot data. So if you've got full dot data with that thing, it shows you know exactly what you did wrong. You can't hide from it. It shows you in all the glory. Or, I don't know if everyone heard that, but Mr. Mumble has very, very kindly, thank you very kindly, donated $10 and said thank you and for a YouTube drink. Well, it just so happens that I have a, I've got to make sure there's no branding on this one. No, I have a green, oh, what's that called? It's, what's the stuff that Superman, kryptonite, there you go. It's green liquid kryptonite, there you go. Talk about YouTube drink, bear with. This is the problem with talking constantly. You do need a drink here and there. Thank you very, very much. Much appreciated. It really is. Well, what I was going to say, oh yeah, so when it comes to the Mevo, it's very, very good. It's very good for the price. Would I have one? Absolutely not. No, I wouldn't, because it doesn't, it's fine for from a budget point of view, absolutely. If you want to play golf, just play golf on stuff like that, then do you know what? Yes, why not? Simulated golf is great. Keep the cost down, it will work. I think it will connect to GS Pro and stuff like that as well, which GS Pro is possibly the best. I don't know, I should say that or not, but it's true. But yeah, if you're serious about trying to get better and really wanting to know your swing inside out and getting it, when it comes to consistent data side of it, so you know what you're doing is working or not, then you can't beat stuff like this. And if you can't afford this, well, that's what GC2 HMT does at a fraction of the cost of that. But yeah, right. Oh my God, Mr. Mumble says, at Ben, lol, was gonna say, love the bear. I've got a few different things. Should we go through a few accessories? Should we go through a few weird accessories that I've got randomly? Yes or no, doesn't matter. I'll carry on. Perry says, my daughter is ping mad and always makes dig at me using Mizuno irons. Where's the bear come from? Because I'll get her one and drive her mad. Yes, bear comes from Mizuno. They sell it. Well, obviously they don't sell it direct, but what they do is they sell it to their accounts, and obviously the accounts will buy certain things like this, certain things like pen caddies and den caddies, which obviously, well, you're not a den caddy, it's a ball thing, you know what I mean? And they sell other things as well. I mean, if you want to go, I'll go through that. I've got a little box of bits if you want me to show you. Some people may not care. All manufacturers make accessories, doesn't matter what it is, but they do. And so, Kieran says, being 4 degrees flat always surprises me, not that I am doubting your judgment. No, well, Kieran, you've got an interesting move. Because your move, hang on, I will do this. Which way should I move that? That way? Yeah, that'll do. Kieran's got an interesting move, because your move is quite like chippy. Yeah, yours is like that. Yeah, there's not sort of like, you know, when you have, like, we've spoke about this, Kieran, and we've talked about how how to increase your speed. It's understanding that there is like a baseball side of things. There's this movement like that, and when you want to try and get everything going from back here, there's hips going forward, there's body, and there's this later release forward and the full swing follow through. But then it's that motion, it's that horizontal motion, but then done on a more of a that's what it is, so it's just changing the angle. But Kieran, you have a bit more of that kind of action, a bit of a sawn follow through, as in, you know what I mean, you're not someone who's background here and stuff like that. And so your handle becomes much more in this angle there, so you can see from down the line, and also that camera there. So I'll do it this way, so the camera, there we go, straight on there. You can see that you've got your handle at an exaggerated disposition, where most people, if anything, because it's a power delivery, they're standing there and they throw the kitchen sink at something like that to give it a real good whack. And you're just different. Are you 4-degree flat even though you're about 12'6"? Yes, you are, but only on the basis that at the moment, because your swing is the way it is, yeah? If we start utilizing your body and a fuller swing to get speed up, and you've got a good 15, possibly 20 miles an hour to unleash with a 7-iron in your swing, should we want to go through all the moves to get there, you will not be 4 degrees flat after that. Right, everyone's all had their questions answered. There we go. So I do want to keep everything to a reasonable limit when it comes to time today, because obviously that has been a little bit of a weird start to things. Don't know why it happened, but my PC turned off. It decided to leave us, but then yeah, we got back onto it, and so everyone's had their questions answered. So I wanted to hold on for maybe another 10 minutes or so, because I wanted to make sure I give every single option or opportunity possible. And there was some golfers. Howdy, I made it. How are you and how is everyone? We are well. Appreciate the demonstration, mate. No problem, Kieran. We can have a conversation later on should you wish, but we've had this conversation, and I think it would be hugely transitional and beneficial for your game in the long run. It's just because you're very, very passionate about playing and frequent playing that there would be, and you can't help it, there will be a transitional period of you really going backwards potentially in your golf, because as you start to learn, I mean, and Kieran, you know Mark, Mr. Crossfield, he's changed his swing a little bit, and he's had quite open conversations about different parts of his swing that he's changed to try and get some speed, because again, he was the classic 262, wasn't he? He couldn't do what I do and what Finchy does, or Finch is faster than me, but you know what I mean, the normal YouTubers are carrying it 280 something as a norm, yeah, within reason. He was 262, 262, 262, and if he 10-finger gripped it, even though it's not 10-finger grips, but you know, if he he could get it going a little bit further, but it was never going to be, he couldn't carry 300 yards and stuff if he really dialed it up. Now, he's changed, but to go through that process, he has suffered. I mean, everything just goes, yeah, it's an interesting journey. Regardless of if you're an amateur golfer or you're a pro, we all struggle with, if we need to make a change for a certain reason that we justify we need to change, then there you go. It's the same for everybody. So Perry says, in the takeaway, the talk is to stay in front of the imaginary wall. In the takeaway, the talk is to stay in front of the imaginary wall behind, as long as you don't come behind the line before going upright. Is this a must? So hang on guys, I've got to digest this. In the takeaway, the talk is to stay in front of the imaginary wall, as in, is your bum up against the wall? As long as you don't come behind the line before going upright, is this a must? Do you know what? I don't necessarily 100% understand exactly what you're saying, Perry. That's my fault, not yours. There is no. I have seen really interesting swings in my time, and really interesting swings that are really very, very good at impact, and to a point of where people do some weird and wonderfuls. Now, as time goes on, sounds like an anti come over the top thought. Hello Paul, hope you're well. Got to do the S70 Golf Watch and the Epix Gen 2 watch from Golf Addict, because I think you need to buy something else, like you need something else. I'll not say demonstrate it, but I will show you on the old thingamabobby. I'll spin it around that way. There we go. Stay there. Right. So there's loads of talk about there's an alignment stick. Yeah, there's this. Oh, everyone loves these kind of things. Alignment stick. Well, alignment sticks are good. Have I got other ones? Yeah, I've got some in my. Oh, anyway, easiest thing to do, right? We're going to talk about takeaways and stuff like that, and you'll see this, and I've spent years seeing this. People going down the range, they've got everything set up, and they've got their alignment and all this lot, and all they end up doing is they end up doing this. Yeah, they spend hours doing this, you know, sort of like dragging it down the line and stuff like that. Is it right? Is it wrong? It depends on what you're trying to achieve. And it also depends what the coach is trying to achieve, being honest. Now, a lot of the times people struggle to practice. They don't have the time to practice and stuff like that. So sometimes giving the student work they can do when they don't have to be at a golf club or a driving range is a great idea, because at least they can do it at home when they have got a certain amount of time to do it. And sometimes just the act of physically practicing, it may actually have very, very little impact in what you're trying to achieve when it comes to swing wise, but what it's actually doing is physically putting a club in your hands and getting you to do some movements and stuff like this, which is golf specific, and that is by far sometimes more important to you getting better or having better control of the club head and keeping it in your hands, working on your grip and getting that one half okay. So yeah, my point would be this: with everything you do, from the posture you have, from the grip you take, from the stance, the alignment, how you move your takeaway, all these different things, your top of your backswing, your transition, all this lot, there's going to be spectrum, what I call a spectrum, right? You've got like a little gauge of, you can make a really good impact from this over here, and you can make a really good impact from this over here. If you're way behind it, you're gonna struggle. What I mean by this is talk about the takeaway of the golf club on the way back, because we're just talking about lines and stuff, right? I've seen people that hit really good deliveries, as in like properly good +1, +2 golfers, and they pull the golf club a little bit too far outside the line. So from that camera there, the golf club going too far out this way, yeah? And then of course they bring it up, they reroute, and they hit decent shots. They're on this side, or more so that side. I have seen people which pull it back, like properly pull it back, like I'm nearly gonna smack my bag, yeah? Back here. And then what they do is they come over the top slightly and still hit a baby draw. Over the top of where they were, but still inside the path of target, you know, inside that way, yep? So if you can have such contrast in movements, there is no such thing as right and wrong. All it is are you, in everything you do, your grip. Now, I've got a different grip to what other people might see as normal. I don't interlock or anything else like that. Actually, I only interlock for when I putt. Yeah, but I have a version of what people call baseball grip or 10-finger grip. Well, it's not 10 fingers because we've got 2 thumbs, so it should be called at least the 8 fingers and 2 thumbs grip. And it's not a baseball grip because a baseball we have thumbs that go around like that, yeah? And obviously in golf we link the hands together by the thumb. So it's not quite one of them as well, but you kind of get my drift. But again, it's a spectrum. You have different grips, as long as your grip is working kind of together, and if you have a strong grip and you understand that may compromise your height, your loft you deliver. If you have a weak grip, that you might then struggle with a bit too much height, because we're talking about loft delivery rather than face open, face closed. That's a different conversation. But as long as you don't have a grip which is one massively weak and one massively strong, that is a really interesting problem to have when it comes to playing golf. And even if you swap your hands around, I don't have a problem with people who swap their hands around, because if you swap your hands around, I've seen pretty good golfers that can swing with their hands the wrong way round. Everything is within a spectrum. Everything is within a semi-sensible amount. My factor, so, oh, hang on. So, Arvin says my smash factor, God, I can't get my words out today. My smash factor is around 1.2 and my 7-iron carries 160 plus. I've heard clear sweet spot sound. How do I increase my smash factor? Well, so your smash factor, your efficiency. Are we talking smash factor? This is from a TrackMan. First of all, if Arvin, if you can say that 1.2 is from a radar or camera based piece of technology, I just have to say thank you very much for Golf Addict. Very, very kindly donated 10 Canadian dollars, and he's asked the question, your thoughts on the Garmin S70 Golf Watch and Epic Gen 2 watch? Lol, something else I need. Yeah, right. I currently just have the Garmin S12. I want more of an all-in-one golf smartwatch. My only issue that I have with all watches, so golf watches are not a bad idea, especially golf watches that store certain information which has GPS on it, which, okay, GPS, I'm not an overall huge swing caddy. Okay, swing caddy, that's the problem. Okay, Arvin, I will get to that one. The issue that I have with GPS is GPS can be out. And this is the problem with, it can be very accurate, but it also can be out. And you don't really know when it's going to be really accurate, and you don't know when it's going to be out. And so how many times have you, I mean, I've seen this on the golf course as well, but the great analogy when it comes to you're driving from one place to another and you've got your TomTom or Garmin or whatever choice of satellite navigation system you use, you've programmed it to go from one place to go down, and you're driving down the motorway or highway or whatever, freeway or wherever you are in the world, going down there, and then you come off the slip road, the off ramp or whatever. Yeah, you kind of get the drift. But because you don't want to go down there because there's loads of traffic, you think, well, I'll stay on the motorway and I'll come off at the next one and come in. You kind of get the idea. But your GPS system sees you going up that off ramp. Well, hang on a minute. No, I'm still on the motorway. And then to a point of when the GPS then goes, oh, hang on. I'm not here anymore, am I? Oh, I'm over there. And you see yourself, the map goes boop, and you're back on. Now, that is an extreme case, but I've seen it on a golf course as well. Now, I've seen GPS units be easily as much as 6 yards out, front and back, as in gross. So not net, as in gross, as in 12 yards gross, as in, that's a club. So if you don't know which one it's going to give you, either you're 6 yards long or 6 yards less. This is my worry when it comes to anything GPS. It's great if you're using it for, say, backyardage-ish, and you're always working to the backyardage, because most golfers always under hit anyway, so it's not a bad idea. But I have my issue over the accuracy, constant accuracy of GPS. I use a laser rangefinder. The only obviously problem with the laser rangefinder, it is a laser rangefinder and it's blooming brilliant at it. Of course, all laser rangefinders are. It's got slope, and of course you don't have to use, can't use that in competition, but you know what I mean. You're learning very much so what slope makes a difference when it comes to your shot distances, which Arcos and stuff like that doesn't actually give you. It gives you an amalgamation of everything. So yeah, no different to other things as well. What I would like would be, at one point, a smartwatch system which does shots gained and all other bits and pieces like Arcos and all this lot is then married with a laser rangefinder unit, because unfortunately the GPS potentially has errors. Now, there is an argument of this. If you're a 30 handicapper, does it really matter because your variance is far more than 6 yards front to back, or 12 yards in total? Yes, it may so. But then if you're always working off information which may be not 100% accurate all of the time, you don't know necessarily if it's you or the equipment which is the fault. When you use laser rangefinder, you are known to the half a yard, some cases, exactly what the difference is. Half a yard to the back of that bunker, half a yard to the pin, half a yard to that tree that you've got to get past, half a yard to this. You can pin all your different spots that you know you need forced carry for and stuff like that. So this is my point when it comes to they're good, they're great, and they're getting better when it comes to their features as the years go on. But I just have a slight issue when it comes to certain things. But GolfNut says the S70 takes into consideration of the slope, wind, and even humidity. So my issue would be, unless you have, like when it comes to wind, unless you've got one of those wind things. When I used to do one of those things, you know, with a big old kite, and you get dragged across the ground. I used to go out with a wind meter thing, windometer. I don't know what it's called, windometer. Anyway, measures wind. Now, you can go by weather forecast, as in what's the current situation at your area kind of thing. But I mean, when you're talking about localized wind and how it moves around and stuff like that, wind really has to be done via the human because of the funneling side of things and how it changes at different altitudes and stuff like that. When it comes to slope, topography is an interesting chat about when it comes to things like that. All day long, I'd only trust a laser rangefinder. I really need to spend so much more time doing it when it comes to physically testing so many different spots against how, say, an S70 or how something else will. The problem is, if it would be on those instant, I've got to be careful when it comes to making content which then showcases the bad parts about a certain piece of equipment, when all it looks as though all I'm doing is trying to character assassinate a product, when that's not the case. And my job necessarily as to showcase what a golf product does is showcase everything about it, good and bad. And that's the thing. But the problem is, if I see something only bad about it, and the conclusion is that I know I wouldn't use it, then my job though is not to negatively impact a company's long-term sales in that sense. My job is to be honest and open and absolutely do that. But there's got to be a balance of things. If I can't find a balance of things, I'd much rather than not do the review. Because it's my findings. It's not indicative of potentially everybody's findings. And this is where it goes when it comes to, I am not God when it comes to golf. Yes, I know a heck of a lot of stuff within the very focused world of golf, and with the physics around it and technology and with all the custom fit inside of things like that. Yes, I know, but I am not golf God. And so my job is not to be the be all and end all of certain things, but you kind of get you understand what I'm saying. Yeah, so Arvin, let's go talk about what you were saying about the swing caddy. So yeah, the swing caddy is a great little system. You could argue it's fairly cheap, but because of the readings they're not massively accurate. So if you're carrying distances 160 plus, now I don't know what loft your 7-iron is, and I don't know how fast your swing truly is, because we've got no ball speed, no club head speed, we've got no dynamic loft, we've got no strike location, we've got nothing which really determines what that 160 plus derives from. So I'd really want to know that before we were to, if you were really at 1.2 smash factor and you're getting 160 plus carry from a 7-iron, and it's a relatively sensibly lofted 7-iron, then your swing speed must be blooming crazy, like 100 miles an hour plus, to get a smash factor of 1.2 and a carry of 160 plus with a fairly normalized lofted iron, 7-iron. Right, Paul says, didn't know you do live streams as well? Yes, I do. Appreciate your content, love the comparisons on many of the million types of equipment we can choose from. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much, Paul. It's very, very kind of you to say. Siltico says, even everyone, Jay, would you prefer getting lessons with or without a launch monitor to back up data? I would never give a lesson without a launch monitor to verify and validate the information which we are talking about, or we're talking about when it comes to a swing change. We're talking about a feeling that you're trying to give to the client to say that, okay, we've identified that there is a distinct area of your golf swing which needs attention, and the problem you're doing is this. And so you need a feeling that's going to give you the effect of countering that issue, and that feeling is that, okay? Think of this. Think of treacle, for example. I'm just messing around. And if thinking of treacle made you swing opposite to where you were, and it's measurable by quad, and it gave you what you need, then you've got the feeling and a validated validation to that feel, effectively. And so then you can go away knowing that that feeling gives you this. If you didn't have that, you'd just be back in the day where you got a pro standing there behind you with his hands crossed and his, that kind of idea. Yeah. I would not have a lesson, regardless of what level you are at, with a launch monitor. Now, there is to say, if you're an absolute pure beginner, do you need launch monitor? Well, no, not necessarily you don't. But very, very quickly, you need to be having an understanding of, because you're trying to build a swing. So it's trying to build a swing as close to functional as possible, as early as possible, like straight away. Yeah, kind of get the idea. Perry says, about 2 feet in front of a wall, the club comes up without touching the wall. I find it easy to rotate on a slightly easier plane and then create an in to out swing path. Do you know, Perry, I've got to be honest, this is absolutely in no way, shape or form a reflection of your descriptive skills. It is absolutely a reflection of my poor ability to comprehend, at least in my head, picture-wise, what you're describing. It's my fault, not yours. And I would love to answer the question, if it works, brilliant. That's all you, when it comes to any coaching, anything else like that, all you need is a feeling to go away with, which you can validate. Now, online lessons are a little more difficult because obviously you've got no validation there, because obviously when on an online lesson, you're talking about what you need to go away with and try, and of course everyone's now got a camera. I mean, heck, my camera here has got 480 frames a second on it, so if I really wanted to, I could then set this up on a tripod and set this up right in front of me and I can physically see it. Now, if you're talking about 10 degrees from inside and 10 degrees across outside, you could see the difference on this. Visibly see it. You can't tell how many, but you can distinctly see the difference. Clubhead speed says 85 to 89 miles an hour. Well, that's physically not possible then, Arvin. Something is going wrong, because that means at 1.2, that means you've got your ball speed of 0.2 from 85 is 17, 102. You would have 102 miles an hour ball speed on your 85 miles an hour, and that is not physically possible unless you are hitting it with a driver. So some part of the swing caddy is not measuring right. Which doesn't surprise me, because it's a swing caddy, but there you go, it's cheaper. But that's the problem when you're talking about lower cost stuff, because it won't give you accurate data. And as the only caveat I would say to that, as long as it's consistently wrong, if you change and it goes up with the change, but it's still consistently wrong by, even if it's 50% out, if it's continuously 50% out, and as you're changing it's still going up but it's 50% out, it doesn't matter. You can see the consistent change in what you're doing. I'd still rather have proper information, but again, that does come at a huge cost, or potential huge cost. GC2 HMT, that is at the moment, if someone wants very, very quick, and they don't have to absolutely break the bank, GC2 HMT, it gives you exactly the same what a quad does, but much, much, much cheaper. Obviously, there is a problem with, at one point it won't be supported anymore, and blah, 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 blah. But yeah. Right, so, golf guys, I'm opposite, I guess. I cannot stand using a laser rangefinder. Find it a pain in the backside, yeah. Lol, watches have worked awesome, especially with the new technology. That is it's only my experience, that is only my opinion. When I've used certain stuff side by side to test it, especially when I worked at the range, I was obviously had the ability to, if I wanted to, quite easily to test certain things. And when you marry it up against exact numbers, there was too many occasions where it was out by, for me, a considerable amount, of which I would not be comfortable using it. Now, things change, and in either now or to next year's come, it might be just as accurate, or I don't know. But it's only my opinion. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying this, and other people play with GPS watches time in and time out every single day, and they love them. And so in that case, just yes, absolutely. That's my 2 pence anyway. Started today's round with a bogey, double bogey, bogey, bogey. Wow, was ready to call it a day. Then I chipped in a 60-yard. Yeah, that's a pitch. That's a 60-yard pitch. That is a wow. Wound up with a 77 on the round. Shows never to give up on the round. Yeah. Also, if you go up, we had one today where it was. What was it? I'll see if I can do it on here. I may or may not be able to do it. There we go. Oh, no, I think it was on the original one. So we can't see. Hang on, I better scroll back down. There was an original one here, I think it was. Dun, 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 there we go. Axel Nielsen, right? On the first stream, because my PC rebooted spontaneously. Just had the strangest round of my life. Started off with 4 bogeys and 1 par. Yep. Then made an eagle and 5 birdies on the remaining 13 holes, 70 round on a par 72. Finished 2 under. Yeah. So well done was the answer to that one. But you kind of get the drift. Don't give in. And you didn't. Well done. Silico, thanks for the answer. I'll bring it at my next lesson. Good. Cool. Bring it up. Yeah. Have done both in the past. No worries whatsoever. Yeah, very, very good. Like, ridiculously good. I mean, you're at that level of golf and you start off with 4 bogeys on the bounce. I know if I start off with a couple of bogeys on the bounce to start with, I'm thinking, oh, for flip me sake. This is going to be a struggle now, because obviously you've got to get 2 birdies to get it back to where you should be. And I'm not a prolific birdier. I'm not someone who can stick in like 7 birdies around or 5 birdies around. I might put in 1, maybe 2, but I'm a plodder. I'm not someone who scores massive numbers at all, but I will plod. I'll pop the odd bogey in there, but I'll par a lot, and I'll grab the birdies when I can, and I'll intermix those with a couple of mistakes and stuff like that. Yeah. Most of the time, I'll be honest, the mistakes are done by driver, and that's always generally speaking the case. The ones that will get me in trouble with the ones that I make a poor decision on when it comes to the selection of should I go on 3-wood or driver on that hole, because everyone's susceptible, everyone's human, we all make mistakes. The whole idea is obviously to try and minimize them and make them, well, you have the odd one because you're human, not because I make the odd 13 because I don't think enough about what I'm doing. Right. Look what Harrington did yesterday to win Champions Tour. Amazing 20 on the back 9. Yes, exactly. Look what Harrington did. I think it was he parred the last, didn't he? And I think he parred the first 2 and then went crazy in between. Good. Well done. Really, really well. I mean, that okay, it's a different course, different field and stuff like that. But I mean, that would held up on the normal tour, let alone Champs Tour, Seniors Tour. That's really very, very good. Right, so if anyone else has got any questions, I will obviously answer them, but otherwise I will disappear unless anyone else has got anything else to say. So yes, just to recall very, very quickly about the information I said on my first part of the live stream before my PC decided it wanted to spontaneously reboot. Thanks very much for that, appreciate it. Blake's popped on, says, so I have JPX 850 forged. Now do you think the Pro 225 would be an upgrade? Okay, there's going to be, I'll think about doing a video, or should I do a live stream about it? Oh, it doesn't matter. We can talk about it now, and if I need to do a video about it, I'll do a video about it. Right, okay. My view on this one, Blake, right, is the fact that you've got some 850 Forge. They are old golf clubs there. They're still good golf clubs as long as they haven't lost their spin profiles and stuff like that. Are you losing out on a little bit of ball speed from the middle? Possibly. Are you definitely losing out from ball speed from around the perimeter of the face when you don't hit the middle? Absolutely, yes you are, because that's the big difference over the years. But if you're looking to upgrade, bearing in mind, and I have had conversations with a few different manufacturers now, and I'm getting the same picture regardless of who I talk to. There is a push for prices to go up next year again for when it comes to its new releases. Now this happens all the time. It's called inflation. We live in the world of inflation. We know that. However, if people are not in a position where they can throw money at it and not even think about it, my advice would be, if you're seriously thinking about getting some equipment, get it now before you go to the next year's models or next newly releases models, even though you think, well, I might be getting old stuff. I don't want to buy old stuff. You're not necessarily buying old stuff, and generally speaking, even the new stuff is very rarely is there like a huge needle shift when it comes to new products. Sometimes you do get it, yes you do get sometimes, but it's rare. But my advice would be, if you can get something now, it's already expensive, it is, but everything's going more expensive. And that's a generalized consensus of not just, it is, I've spoke to a few manufacturers and it's the same thing. Which will be an interesting also, obviously, because of the fact that I've got some DTC irons coming soon, which is going to be the direct-to-consumer, which will be interesting ones. So I've got Tacomo, I've got sub 70, and I've got a few different irons coming from sub 70, and I've also got 11, and they're the 11 hybrids as well. Kieran, thank you very much. Off to bed, cheers to the stream. Thank you very much, Kieran. That's very much appreciated. That's a very, very kind donation. Thank you very much for that. Sleep tight, don't let the bed bugs bite, and we'll catch up soon. Good drive on 13, by the way. Paul says, on the course, can't get my brain to accept that hitting the ball at slower speed increases distance and accuracy. Any advice on how to correct myself while playing? Much less problems on the range. So I'm assuming that when you start thinking or feeling like you're swinging slightly slower, you tend to make better contact or more consistent contact, and therefore you see an increase in distance on the course. I'm taking from that. That's okay, cool. So that basically means that you have, in my experience, you have a sequence. So a body has a sequence. I find it difficult. I've just done 2 videos which I'm editing at the moment, and hopefully they'll come up, one tomorrow and then one Wednesday. The G425 iron against G430 iron, and especially this one, the JPX 923 Hot Metal High Launch against the Stealth HD, the hybrid head. But I've done that test, and I don't want to sort of put it out, oh, well, put it out there, doesn't matter. I've managed to do the actual physical performance and the forgiveness side of the test at about 76 miles an hour. Now you will see when it comes to, if you watch the video, I struggle at the start to try and dumb my speed back enough without compromising delivery, although I struggled even then. And I'm talking about from 92 miles an hour, which is my standard, down to an 85, yeah? So we're talking about a sequencing thing, and then obviously when it comes to turn the camera off, let's go bash it a load of times, let's delete everything and start again, bang, 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 but let's do it under a much slower. It takes me a little while to get used to it, and so everyone has the, unfortunate, they have this thing, they're sequencing. You found your sequencing gets better, your ability to sync everything gets better at a slower speed. Now what you need to do, if that's too slow, work on it at the range in a like metronomic kind of thing. You can do like the 1, 2, 3 hit, 1, 2 hit, or whatever you want to call, because that's like the backswing. You start off on the 1, 2, 3, or however you want to do it. Yeah, that can be very, very good when it comes to drumming in a pattern especially if you work on your pre-shot routine. The tour player sometimes is like ridiculously crazy at being able to time them from the point of view where they start their pre-shot routine to the point where they hit the golf ball is so ridiculously tight because they're in a pattern of doing it. As long as we can get your pattern right, if your slower speed isn't in any way compromising your ability to potentially lower your handicap, then I would say by all means, let's work on getting that sequence much more drilled in, and you can do that via metronome. I mean, they do it with putters as well. They go beep 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 like that. You kind of get the idea, and you keep the same metronomic pattern, but you just change your length of stroke, and of course then that length of stroke to get to the same kind of metronomic pattern has to travel a bit faster, blah blah blah. GolfNut, I have the Stealth HD in 3-wood and 5-wood and the 4 hybrid. Love them a lot, very easy to hit, worth a try for anyone that struggles with fairy woods and hybrids. Yes, yeah, I mean, you can't complain with the tailor-made Stealth HDs, 2 HDs, they're doing really well. The only issue that I've got at the moment I can see, and I've seen a lot on there, and I don't know how long this is, if it's just, obviously, when it comes to when people complain, you tell like 10 people, when you've done well, you tell 1, that kind of classic thing. But I have seen a lot of, should we say, failures or faults appearing on certain golf clubs at the moment, and they always obviously post them to Facebook in forums, and you see, yeah, my face has come off or my crown's come off, and yeah, so, but no, they're really very good. Right, so as long as everyone is done, I'm going to say cheerio. Mark, excuse me, YouTube when he pops. Mark says, thank you, Jay, have a great evening. Well, what's left of it? Well, there is true. I mean, it's 9 o'clock or 10 past 9, so I will now call it a day. As long as everybody has had their questions answered, we're going to be doing the same thing again next week. I was always trying to do the weekly live streams, because obviously it's always good to obviously have a recap of what's happened during the week and what's coming up, and then also any normalised questions of when it comes to questions and answers about certain different things. So always happy to answer. This is obviously when it comes to content that I do. Yes, Matthew King, hello, or night. Yep, yeah, it's kind of night, isn't it? Yeah, it is evening, night. No, mate. So yeah, so when it comes to the I've lost my thread now. Oh yeah, so when it comes to that, I'd prefer the complicated comments. I actually quite like the complicated comments, as in trying to pose different things. I'm quite happy to answer them within a live stream. So if you've got one, answer it. I'll ask it, sorry, when it comes to a comment, absolutely. And then pop onto the live stream and then ask it again. Because the good ones, I mean, there's some, unfortunately I don't have time to reply to every single comment, but I do like replying to the comments, and I try to do as many as I possibly can do. And that also means that if you have a complex one, this is the forum as such to be able to do it proper well. I can give a much more detailed, because my mouth travels and moves much faster than my fingers do on the keypad. So I hope everyone is well. Thank you very much for everybody's very kind donations. I will pop over quickly to, if I can get it, there we go. I just want to have a little look if it will come up. So I just want to say thank you very much for Mr. Mumble. Thank you very kindly for your $10. The Golf Addict also, thank you very kindly for that. Also $10. And Kieran, A Special K. I don't understand what A Special K is. I know Special K, Kieran, but A Special K? Special K in the UK is like a cereal. But yeah, thank you very much for your donation as well. It is very much appreciated. Obviously, when it comes to these live streams, I will be honest, as I always am. I hardly earn anything from doing these live streams at all. And when I say I don't earn blooming all from normal revenue streams on YouTube because of just the way the YouTube algorithms and how live streams are not prioritized in any way over normal content that you get that you like normal videos. And so the only time I actually better Special K than Fruit Loop. Well, Kieran, you are. Well, Golf Addict for Kieran, yes, probably, yeah. So the only time I actually earn anything whatsoever is when people very, very kindly donate. So sometimes I do wonder why I even bother doing live streams. But yeah, it is a very useful platform for people to have their comments, questions, and descriptive things, or what's it, demonstrative? As in like you want demo? I could be talking about something completely different. When you try and demonstrate something, it can be a much, much better platform to do it on. So, right, thank you very much to everybody. Thank you very much so, especially for every bit of the kind donations that you did today. It was heartfelt, thank you. And we will see each other next, well, let's see, you know what I mean. You'll see me, but you kind of get the idea. Next Monday, same time, same place. I don't think I'm going on holiday or doing anything. I want to just double check. I do this. Let's go this way. What's today? I don't know what's today. It's 26. So got to go into July 3rd. There we go. What we got on next week? Nothing. There you go. So as what I'm saying, nothing is in the way. I've got things going on, but nothing that's going to be problematic for me to be on a live stream. So with everything, we'll say thank you very much for everybody. Thank you very much for you joining in, all your comments, all your questions, all your queries. It's been a pleasure, and we will see each other as such next week, same time, same bat channel. Thank you very much, guys. It's been a pleasure. Catch you soon.